Vroom!
Zoom.
Welcome to Let's Play Stardew Valley.
Well, Maddie, this is an F1 podcast.
Well, be prepared for our streaming days soon.
Hi, my name's Julia, and I know a lot about F1.
Hi, my name's Maddie, and I don't know what I know. I know things.
And she's knowing more things every week.
It comes out of my butt.
And I don't love that.
I don't like it either. It's kind of painful.
And on that note, we're going to be talking about who were the champions and who were the crashouts of last week's Chinese Grand Prix. Starting off, I think it's safe to say our number one champion was, drumroll please,
Joke on you!
hell yeah. Hometown boy. The crowd was loving him. He was loving the crowd. He got all of the attention he deserved. Did Ferrari end up cursed by the end of the weekend? Maybe. Doesn't matter because Zhou Guanyu was absolutely slaying.
We love him so much.
We do indeed.
Even my nails are fit to kind of represent his helmet. I'm not a nail artist, so don't come for me. In actual news, actual official news, the real winner was Oscar Piastri, who I would just like to remind everyone, if you have seen our videos, that I predicted that. I predicted an Oscar P1 for the finals, a redemption arc, and that's what we got. So technically, I also won.
This is true. Some might say that Maddie was the true champion of last weekend.
Oh, I was! Stay tuned in our next video when we talk about our league results.
But yes, Oscar Piastri, first pole victory, first pole to first place. He did great during the sprint race as well. He was having an excellent time this weekend. 1/16th Chinese. Did that help him? Maybe.
That's a white man.
That is a white man. But you know what, Maddie? That white man has Chinese ancestry. So
Could he be my super long distance related cousin?
he is if you say he is. Nobody can prove you wrong.
That's true. I can't even prove myself wrong. We don't know my history.
Facts. Another champion of the weekend, I would say, was Ollie Behrman. He had an amazing race. I don't really know what Haas was cooking up this weekend, but they did well. They should keep doing that. And his little chow, when he passed Liam Lawson and he was like, "Chow, bitch, I lost it." That was the best moment of the weekend for me.
Just so casually, him being like, ciao. Like, wholesome. Adorably wholesome. You can't listen. There are very few men in my life, not directly in my life, that can do no wrong. Ollie Behrman is one of them. Oh, well, he's not a man. He's a, well, anyway. Ollie Behrman can do no wrong.
He's just a little
And if you
guy.
say otherwise, he's just a little cub. If you say otherwise, I will fight you.
We have adopted Ollie as our child, so he can do no wrong. He did apologize for his remarks. He was like, I don't know what came over me at that moment, but I don't really think he had to apologize. It was absolutely hilarious and no harm done on the whole. So,
Exactly. It's not even like no hate, no shade. Everyone deals with things differently. But I think it's more wholesome because it's just like a matter of fact of like goodbye. There doesn't feel like any antagonistic tendencies in it compared to sometimes previous races you see with other people trying to prove themselves.
is this a reference to Liam Lawson flipping off Checo?
It is. You know, listen, I love Liam in my own way. I hate to see that he is struggling. Like, that is unfortunate that he's having a hard time proving himself. There is something about seeing him last year, the attitude he had directed towards a lot of racers that just didn't fully sit well with me. It didn't always feel, and I know it's no, like there I'm sure there are other racers who have had poor attitudes. It just comes across to me as like bad sportsmanship. Like seeing him flip Checo off or seeing him be like, "Who did I pass? Was that Checo?" and stuff like that. It just seems like a little bit like focus on what you need to be focusing on, not kind of like rubbing it in someone's face that you are doing better than them.
Yeah, I would agree. There were a lot of things that rubbed me the wrong way last year. Again, I hate to see somebody fail, especially so early into the season. But so I definitely didn't want that wholly for
Mm,
Liam, but he
agree.
was never my favorite person on the grid. So
I will admit his song is a bop though.
this is true. He has his moments.
He does have his moments. He has his moments.
All right. Who else would you say was a champion of this weekend?
Alex Albon's girlfriend. What a queen.
Alex Albon's girlfriend is always a champion. I was
Always.
gonna say Alex actually was also a champion this weekend. He did really well. He scored points. It was his birthday. He led the race. He got to hang out with his amazingly hot and talented girlfriend. What more could you want?
Exactly. Speaking of that, Yuki, in my opinion, was a champion. The sass, mwah, immaculate. The way I can't, I don't, I'm saying it's immaculate, and then I can't even remember him being like, "What happened to my friend Wing?" That's not the phrasing of it, but I love it. I love seeing that.
Damage from what?
Damage from what?
Yuki is somewhere in the middle for me because A, the SAS champion behavior, B, his qualifying, also champion behavior. Same thing with Isaac. But the team strategy and his front wing breaking itself, not championship behavior.
Which is hilarious because I'm out here in our previous videos being like, "Oh, like Racing Bull is so stable. Like the car is not anything extraordinary, but it's not breaking."
They just had to prove you
Hello?
wrong.
I know. I feel like after all the predictions that we had last week, everything was just like, want to bet?
Yeah.
Maybe we
Like,
shouldn't make predictions.
we probably shouldn't, but we're going to keep doing it anyway. So, if Yuki Tsunoda was a half crash out, I think it's safe to say that our two full crash outs of the weekend were both Ferraris. Not only did Charles damage his front wing at the very beginning of the race there, and really pulled together, strong armed a really superior drive with a broken wing for the entire race, only to be disqualified at the very end of it. Horrible. That would be the end of my mental health. Lewis Hamilton as well. Excellent drive. Excellent job in the sprint race. Disqualified.
Yeah, that was pretty rough to wake up to and to read on like the F1 kind of like little news page on the app. Unfortunately, the other crash out, I don't think there's any bigger crash out than both Ferraris getting DQ'd, but we have Pierre Gasly as well, who was DQ'd for the same thing of his car being underweight like Charles Leclerc.
Just sucks when you're too skinny.
Funny enough, I did see a TikTok of basically like Alpine or how they make weight, and it's like Alpine, they shave their heads. Racing carb, you have to be under 5'4" or like whatever. They were pretty funny. But another crash out, possibly metaphorically, in the sense of they weren't DQ'd, but Liam Lawson with getting a P20 and then not moving up. So I've heard. Julia, take it away.
Yeah, qualifying at the very bottom again. Not really managing to make his way up a whole lot of spots. I think he finished in P12, but that's just because three people in front of him DQ'd. So even with all the disqualifications, he did not manage to make it into the points, and he was getting passed by a 19-year-old in a Haas. Emotionally damaging, to be honest.
Seriously, I would not even the fact that I'm getting passed by a 19-year-old. I'm getting passed by Hawes. Where did
In
that
a
come
Red Bull.
in a Red Bull of all things? Um, didn't you tell me that Alonso DNF'd?
Yes. That is also a crash out of this weekend. Our rookie, our war criminal, Fernando Alonso, his brakes were on fire. So,
Plutone fire, oh, hey, oh, ha.
wasn't his fault. Wasn't his fault, but yeah, he didn't finish the race. He only made it, I want to say, 3 or 4 laps. It was pretty early. It was early in the race.
Well, I am glad he is at least safe and unharmed. Like they were actually on fire, like fire.
Yeah, they were smoking. I think it was Pierre actually that was on the radio to his engineers and was like, "Yo, I think Fernando's on fire."
You know, it's quite unfortunate too if it was Pierre that's like, yo, Alonso's brakes on fire, and then Karma returns it with DQ'd.
DQ'd, bitch. So, so to recap, our champions of the weekend were Zhou Guanyu, Oscar Piastri, Ollie Behrman, half of Yuki Tsunoda. The other half was a crash out, along with the 2 Ferraris, Pierre Gasly, Liam Lawson, and Fernando Alonso. Which brings us to our next segment, which is Cars and Controversy, which is going to be a segment where Maddie and I talk about some of the rumors, some of the things that people are upset about in the Formula One realm currently. Our biggest Cars and Controversy is, of course, what the heck is happening at Red Bull Racing.
Everyone buckle up. And if you don't have buckles, then strap yourself in with something else. Because as I'm sure if you are deep into F1, you have heard, you've seen the Red Bull Twitter, you've seen the Formula One gossip pages. They are stating that the Chinese GP was Liam's last in the Red Bull seat and that Yuki Tsunoda will be taking over in Japan. Whether I appreciated or rooted for Liam Lawson, I was not gunning for his removal from Red Bull so soon on. Even if I would joke about Yuki Tsunoda getting a chance, as much as I love that boy and I want him to have his chance, it is disappointing to hear rumors floating around that he gets that chance at the sake of another who does not have a full chance to prove if he can adjust to this. Because I really think even though he was racing in Racing Bull, he did not get a good chance in Red Bull to prove himself or show that he can do it.
Yeah, I think that the 2 races has really not been enough time, especially considering the kind of mitigating circumstances of the Australian GP. He had, like, there was a problem with the car that wasn't his fault during one of the practice sessions. And then there was the rain. He did DNF in the rain, but so did, like, 5 other people. And then I think it's just unfortunate that his pace just hasn't been there in the qualifying sessions. I also do think it's unfortunate though, because Red Bull last year really lost the championship because they didn't have a competitive second car. And that was on them. That was on them for not fixing the problems that both Max and Checo highlighted to them. But I think that they don't want to wait too long this year and risk that happening again. They're already down to third in the championship. The only points they have so far are the ones that Max has gotten. And Christian Horner has said that they need to have both cars scoring if they want to win, which honestly is a little common sense. Like you can't just win the constructors with just Max as much as he can try.
I
So
mean,
it's very unfortunate on that end. Like I can see the reasoning, but I do think that 2 races is not enough for Liam to fully show what he was capable of, and it makes me nervous about how they'll treat Yuki in that seat.
I think Red Bull, there's no middle line with Red Bull. You either do it or you can't. They either replace you or they draw it out a little bit. Granted, it could have been a different circumstance with Checo because of his contract that they signed with him. I don't know the factors behind there, but I do know, like, when Checo started underperforming, a lot of people were talking about Liam replacing him and moving up. And is this race going to be his last race? Is he going to make it to the end of the year? And hearing a lot about that. So his contract could have played a different role in it, but it does seem like Red Bull has a hard time finding that fine line, that happy medium. And quite frankly, with some of the comments I hear from Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, I don't think truthfully they are into finding that happy medium. I think they just want the good results immediately. It does make me nervous with Yuki as well, especially since we have not seen positive comments from Red Bull's team directed towards Yuki and his racing. We've seen some or heard some negative comments directed towards just Yuki. So that's a little nerve wracking to think about of, well, what is he just going to face in general?
Yeah. And Liam himself has said, Australia and China are both 2 circuits that he's unfamiliar with. Japan is one that he has driven before, and he said that he likes it a lot. It's one that their Red Bull is usually pretty strong at. So he himself has said that he's very much looking forward to Japan and seeing it as an opportunity to prove himself.
I almost see that as an issue though, in the sense, not him driving at the something he's familiar with, but it's unfortunately that's not the greatest excuse or greatest reason on why you are underperforming. Because, okay, great, you are used to this Japan track. What about the next 3 tracks that you might be used to? You're underperforming just because you're not used to them. The heads up, the rookies are possibly not used to that track either, and they are, well, we don't, the Australia is different, but they're outperforming you. So it's a reason, it gives understanding. It's weak though, unfortunately. I think Red Bull likes to gravitate to those go-getters, those people who are not afraid to step on others' toes and are very confident in themselves. And I think to be a driver, you need to be confident in yourself and your skills to, because we see how close those cars get. You can't just be like, oh, I'm scared. You have to be able. So I do understand that. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I believe that Liam Lawson's almost shark-like nature has gave Red Bull the impression that he's going to be able to drive this car kind of like Max, in the sense of he has that same like vicious attitude towards attacking the track and getting what he wants. And now that they're seeing this, they're like, where's the shark? What, like, you went from being a great white, being a mako shark, to you're a cookie cutter shark and you're not even cutting well. Like, ooh, that could be weird. And you're not even like chomping well. So I definitely almost think maybe that aggression and, dare I say, a little bit of cockiness has kind of come back to bite him in the butt.
And just like a cookie cutter shark, he is now just leeching off of Red Bull resources.
He has become a parasitic shark. Some of it too is, unfortunately, as well, the cockiness is not being backed up by the driving. Like, when he was outpacing Checo and passing them and kind of moving up in the ranks, he was backing up his attitude. He was all bark and all bite. And now he is just some of the interviews I've seen, and he is all bark, no bite. And I recall seeing something. I think it was a TikTok. I don't know if anyone else said it or like driver wise, or if it was just like someone else's opinion. It is almost sometimes as well hard to have sympathy for a driver who does not have sympathy for others. Like I said, sometimes his attitude felt very unsportsmanship and like he was putting the other drivers down rather than just having like the like, oh cool, like I passed Checo.
Yeah. Which brings to the other quite raunchy rumor. Raunchy is not the right word.
What's the rumor?
Salacious? No, salacious means the same thing as raunchy.
Tell me the rumor and I'll tell you the word.
Spicy? Saucy? Spicy.
Tell me
I'm gonna go
the
spicy.
rumor.
Brings us to the other spicy rumor, which was that instead of dropping Liam back down to Racing Bulls, they were going to bring in Franco Colapinto to Racing Bulls. And this rumor started simply because Helmut Marko was seen at Alpine. And I don't put a lot of stock into it. And I think ESPN came out and said that it didn't have merit. But I just wanted to talk about it because, one, it was really funny. And I'm pretty sure that Helmut Marko is just like a little corpse that likes to like roam around the paddock and like chat with people just to like try to like stir up the most amount of drama as he possibly can and like probably put a little bit more pressure on Liam to be like, we're talking to people. Your spot is not guaranteed. We are in talks. Now, I didn't put any stock into this because bringing Franco onto Racing Bulls would be a bad decision for many reasons. Not like driver wise, but monetarily. Like Racing Bulls would have to buy Franco out of his contract.
Mm.
Whereas Liam, they already have. So it just wouldn't make a lot of sense. But certainly would have been interesting. And then a lot of people were like, yes, get Franco out of Alpine so we can stop breathing down Jack's neck. I'm like, alas for Jack. He's another one that might not quite make it.
Speaking of that, one, spicy is the best word. Salacious maybe in the sense of like, ooh, it's good. Raunchy, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also saw a little TikTok though, where it's like, I think maybe Jack got outpaced or something happened, and then anyway, the TikTok was like, oh, panning to Franco when they're talking about Jack is foul, and I'm just like, yeah, that's a little drama driven. What are you doing, F1 TV? What are you
Yep.
up to? Literally, I believe F1 TV and Helmut Marko are just farming for Netflix drama, DTS drama, just being like, you need the drama, baby? I'll give it to you. Don't
On that topic, the other controversy from the weekend was what the heck was happening with Ferrari's radio messages. So, if you don't know, during the race, Lewis Hamilton told the team Charles Leclerc had better pace. Lewis Hamilton suggested that Charles be allowed to pass him so that, it would benefit the team more.
worry.
The way that the formula, to my understanding, the way that the radio messages are shown on the live broadcast is there's a group of people working for F1 who are basically in a room together and they get these radio messages and then they select the ones that they think are like the most important or the most interesting or the most funny and then they send them off to be put onto the live broadcast. And this is a process that they've kind of honed over the years to make it as streamlined as possible so that there's not a huge delay in the recordings, but there still is some because they have to choose them. Anyway, so Fred, the team principal of Ferrari, was not super happy with the choice of radio messages that kind of painted a picture to make it look like Ferrari was the one that gave team orders and Lewis Hamilton was like, I'll pass when I'm ready, or I'll let him pass when I'm ready, making it seem like he was trying to defy team orders, which was not the case. He was just trying to say, like, first of all, the whole thing was his idea. And then he was just saying, like, yes, I will let him have an opportunity to pass when I think it's the best place on the track for that to happen. So totally normal, totally not salacious stuff. But the way that Formula One framed it with their timing and their placement of the radio messages was. Now, I heard that this was way worse on the F1 TV broadcast. I watch on ESPN, which is the Sky Sports broadcast, and the commentators there, for all of their faults, were really good in this situation because they did say outright, they were like, oh, we think that this was Lewis's decision. Oh, now we're getting another radio message. Okay, yes, this was Lewis's decision. We're filling in the gaps a little bit for you here. Apparently, on the F1 TV broadcast, none of that happened. And so people were quite upset about the way that it was portrayed.
I would too, because it's almost a little bit like, why are you trying to make it out that at least right now there is a bigger rivalry, or like Ferrari is trying to set up a rivalry between two teammates when that's not the case. So good on Ferrari's principal for being like, excuse me, no,
No, we love Fred.
no. We love Fred. We don't love Christian Horner.
No, siree.
Do you know who we also love?
Who?
Ricky.
We do love Ricky. The Ferrari pit wall are friends, not food. Friends, not enemies.
I don't even want to eat Helmut Marko or Christian Horner. Like, don't make them food. I'm not into cannibalism.
It
Even
was
if
a
I
Nemo
was,
reference.
I don't think they would taste good.
It was a Finding Nemo reference.
I am well aware. I'm just saying they don't even deserve to be considered as food.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not Finding Nemo. I'm not that in the dark.
Fair. So, those were our cars and controversies. Let us know if there were any that we missed, or if you don't think they were all that controversial. This has been 17 to 1. Bye.
Bye.